Hey everybody, so I'm going to be going over some common questions and concerns about coaching. These are things that, heck, I even worried about before I actually joined, and maybe even while I was processing and learning to be a coach, I was still worried about this stuff. But within time, I learned that the fears that I was worried about, the things that I was concerned about, were kind of irrelevant because that's not what coaching's about. So I'll start with number one. Number one, that I am not at my goal weight. Guys, that is so not something that you should be concerning yourself about. I am in it well over a year and I'm still not at my goal weight. It's not about being at your goal weight. It's not about being perfect. It's not about even representing something that is so far out of reach that nobody else can get to. Being a coach is about being real. Being a coach is not about being perfect. If you were perfect, the likelihood of people actually even liking you or even following you or even wanting to listen to you is so low, because people would be like, well, she's perfect. He doesn't have to even try. So it's not about that. It's more about sharing your journey. It's about sharing your struggles as well, because people want to understand that you're a real person, that you have to deal with your 3-year-old running around while you're trying to do your sit-ups. People want to hear that, you get home at night, late at night, and you have to cook dinner and you're not finishing dinner until 9:30. They want to see that you're a real person, and the more real you are and the less perfect you are, the more relatable you are and the more people want to follow you. So being at your goal weight is definitely not a requirement. All right, number 2, I don't have time. This one kills me. Before I started coaching, before I made the commitment, I didn't suddenly find more hours in my day. Nobody has more hours than somebody else. But think about it, regardless of coaching aside, think about the people who are huge achievers. They don't have more time than we do. So how are they able to achieve what they've achieved? Well, they're just efficient with their time. They just do things differently with their time. Think about your day. Think about all the time that you waste. You might feel like you're so busy and you're running around and everything's chaotic, but that's probably because it's exactly that. It's chaotic. It's not organized. It's not, it's not efficient. So, the time that I've been a coach so far, I'm still learning how to better be efficient. I haven't mastered that yet, and I don't know if I ever will, but I'm certainly getting better at it. And when I first started coaching, I was working 13 plus hour days, bringing work at home with me, going in on the weekends, and I was still coaching. I wanted it so badly. I had realized what it had done for my life, and there was no way that some dumb job was going to stand in my way of letting my dreams come true later down the road. So I started small. I started with just working an hour a day on my business, and then I increased that, and then on the weekends I started blocking out time that would just be my business time. And I started, instead of waking up with just enough time to get up, get ready, and leave, I started waking up earlier. And then once I realized that that wasn't a big deal, I woke up even earlier. And so now I'm at the point where I wake up at 5 in the morning. And I know that sounds crazy right now, maybe to you. Maybe you already wake up at 5 and that's how early your day starts. But for me, in the beginning, that sounded crazy. What do you mean I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning? No, nobody told me to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm my own boss. That's the best part of being a coach, is you are your own boss. So you set up your hours. I'm much better in the mornings, where other people are much better in the evening. But the thing is, it still is that I set up my own measures of success. That's part of being a boss. That's part of being your own boss. Right now, we are lucky enough to, yes, have jobs, but we don't measure our successes. We are measured by somebody else's ideas of success. And even if we attain it, maybe we are rock stars at work. But if the company doesn't allow for anything more than a 3% annual raise, that's all we're gonna get, right? And I don't want to live like that. So I would rather, sacrifice in the front years so that I can maximize everything in the back end. And really, like, once I'm able to take this and make it my full-time gig, I can't wait for that day, because that day is going to come and I'm going to get there. And I'm going to get there because I am my own boss and I run my time efficiently. All right, number 3, I'm not a qualified nutritionist or personal trainer. Guys, neither am I. And I don't even try to pretend to be. You'll never see me post something about something that I don't know about, or that I haven't personally experienced or personally failed at or finally figured out. I don't worry about the nutrition plan because the nutrition plan's already figured out for me. I don't worry about coming up with recipes because there are so many recipes already figured out for me there. That I don't have to create something where there is already something there for me. And the same with being a personal trainer. Like, I don't try to pretend that I know how the body works and how the body functions. That's what the programs are for. So all you have to do is be a friend. All you have to do is hold somebody accountable and duplicate the environment that created success for you. That's all. And now moving forward, I do the same thing for anybody that comes to me and needs some extra help, is I just create that same environment that was created for me, and I just duplicate it, and I duplicate it every month. I don't have to recreate the wheel. So number 4, I don't want to become Beachbody, and I don't want to sell stuff. I wouldn't either. So we have that in common. I feel very strongly that the things that I share on social media are me. They do not represent Beachbody. They represent me. They represent, the meals that I try out. They represent the successes that I have. They represent the challenges that I have, the growth that I'm working on personally. That's the stuff that I share. I don't share as if I'm an infomercial. I share exactly what I'm going through in that moment, in that day, and how I overcome it. And when I'm not selling, when I'm sharing, that's what I like to call it, I share it exactly the way that I would share a restaurant that I just had a great meal at, or a movie that I just saw and loved, or a theater show that I went and had a great time at. That's how I invite, and that's how I grow my business. Is I'm telling people, like, hey, I'm having success over here. Do you want to join me? Like, hey, I'm looking for some accountability. Would you want to join me? Are your goals the same as my goals? Because if they are, let's help each other. Like, that's how I invite. That's how we're taught to share, and we're taught to share and to invite, and not to sell. And certainly the voice that you would create in social media would not be Beachbody's voice. It would be your voice. All right, number 5, I can't afford to get started. Been there. My personal story, and I'm not condoning putting things on credit cards and getting yourself into debt, but my story is I put my first challenge pack on a credit card, and what helped me through that was thinking, all right, I'm going to put this on the credit card. If I don't get my results in 30 days, then I'm going to get my money back. Did that happen? Nope. I got the results that I was looking for, and I definitely kept it, and I kept on going, and I haven't looked back since. When I thought about the fact that, like, I couldn't afford it, what I realized is I couldn't afford not to do it for 2 reasons. I couldn't afford not to do it because I'd already spent years trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out, and I was tired of seeing myself the way I did. Number two, I couldn't afford not to get started because, again, for years since after college, I've been struggling with figuring out like the right way to spend my money, make money, because I was always living from paycheck to paycheck and never making enough. There were so many times that my friends wanted to go on spontaneous trips and I couldn't do it. And this past year, I was able to do that with my boyfriend because of my Beachbody earnings. I've never been able to do that. And when I was on that trip and looking back on that trip, not once have I regretted the one-time financial investment to get into coaching, and then the investment that I make now monthly just to take care of my body and to take care of my health. So that fear of not being able to afford it, I think for me, what enabled me to actually take the plunge was really realizing that I couldn't afford not to do it. All right, number 6. Is this thing a pyramid scheme? All right, well, let's back up a second and think about what a pyramid scheme is. So the true definition of pyramid scheme is when you're investing money or assets and not getting anything in return. That's totally not the case with Beachbody and being a coach, because it's an automatic transaction. You purchase something, you get something. So right there, not a pyramid scheme. So to move past that, now that it's relevant that there are definitely goods exchanged, worrying about not being able to progress in the business, the idea that it's a pyramid and that someone's on the top and that you get put wherever you are in the network and then you can't keep growing, that's also not true either, because I could very well, where I'm placed, whatever, exceed my coach's income or exceed her coach's income. I could be one day the top coach in the network. There is nothing stopping me except for me and my own efforts. So it's not a pyramid scheme in that sense either. What's funny, what I actually think is kind of funny, is if you think about, this is the way I look at it, I think about corporate America, and if my manager doesn't leave at some point or another, or she doesn't get promoted, then I'm not getting promoted. And I think about that, and that sounds like a pyramid scheme. But anyway, that's just my own personal opinion.